Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer, which is me, Lady Ada, the engineer. Normally we're broadcasting live from the Adafruit headquarters, but right now we're broadcasting live from the Lady Ada headquarters.
That's right.
With me is Mr. Lady Ada. We're going to be doing Ask Engineer in a slightly different format.
Yeah, we have a couple surprises. So we have to do this from our bedroom, and we'll talk about why in a minute. During COVID, we broadcasted from home, and now we're broadcasting from home again because we had a kid. I'm going to talk about that in a few moments. So we'll see. We're going to try to reconfigure everything. We just did the show and tell, and now we're doing Ask an Engineer.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. Special thanks to everyone on the Adafruit team who's been helping out the last few weeks while we brought life into this world and more. And we think we're going to be able to continue to do the shows. We shall see. So this is a lot of fun AV stuff. There's a lot of green screens. There's a lot going on here.
I know.
So
things will be changing. You'll see it'll be dynamic.
Change is good. Let's kick off the show, and then we'll go into some news and more on tonight's show. Lady, do you know what's going to happen?
Oh, well, let's find out. First up, it's time for the code.
It's the code. The code is kickoff. We're kicking off 2023 together, and we'll be able to give you a discount, 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. on things that are in stock and more. We have a lot of stuff in stock. The chip shortage has subsided a little bit.
I know.
We're celebrating this year together. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're going to talk about some of our live shows. We just had show and tell. At Disc of Lady Ada, we resumed doing that over the weekend. We have JP's product pick. So JP does a show. We have some time travel. Got a Help Wanted announcement. We have some advanced manufacturing made here in New York City. We have some 3D printing videos. We have a recap of 2022, and we also have some fun speed-ups. INMPI is back. We've got Top Secret. We've got a ton of new products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over in Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. /Discord. And you can also go to discord.gg/Adafruit. But we're there all the time, and you can ask your questions. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, Lady Ada. First up, let's tell folks the free stuff they get before we go into some...
Well, we've changed some of the free stuff since
family news. Okay.
We're gone. Okay, so we've changed it up a little bit. Historically, we had the Perma Proto half-size breadboard as the $99 freebie, but we wanted to give away nudes. Everyone loves to receive free nudes.
Yeah, we'll send you nudes in the mail.
We'll send you nudes in the mail. When you place an order, you get the most popular, which is kind of the warm white, short, flexible nudes. You get one with, this is showing pink, but imagine it was a warm white color.
Yeah, sorry.
And a little bit shorter. That's what you get, but it's still got that flexible, cool effect, and it's a 3-volt LED. You just use it like an LED, and it's just we've got a couple of neat projects in the learning system. So that's free with your order, $99 or more. We still have the KB2040 freebie, a pink circuit board, a PCB, with the RP2040, 8 megabytes of flash. Great for making keyboard projects. That's what the KB stands for. But you can also use it as a general purpose microcontroller. It's got STEM QT connector, USB-C, lots of GPIO, castellated pads, and it's pink. And then if you order $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. And while supplies last, we're still doing the free Circuit Playground Bluefruit when you order $299 or more. So as long as we've got those in stock, I think we still have some. We're still doing this freebie as well.
Okay, and we get to do one of those how it started, how it's going things. So our big news, and we'll get into the show, is we have Kiddo. And no one really
survived.
Yeah, no one really noticed over the last 9 months on Ask an Engineer because we filmed from our next down. But Lady Ada had a big baby inside of her, and we had I think on our last show we did show one little sneak peek, so we get to do the how it started.
Yeah.
And how it's going.
Yeah.
So we're keeping Kiddo off social media for one day for Kiddo to decide if they want to be on social media. But, no hands and back of the head is fine. Machine learning can't really identify.
Yeah, this is basically like, well, do I think machine learning will be able to spot in facial recognition this baby? Probably not. It's just a hairy head.
So we involve the child in our lives, and Kid is part of our daily experience. do stuff at Adafruit. She's already interested in electronics and more. We made some high contrast things. Babies like high contrast, so I did a blog post about this. She likes to stare off into the side, and then someone asked me, so I was like, "What's that? What's that green thing over there?" And that's a cosmic background radiation plushie. Turns out they make those. And then
you always want an excuse to get one.
Yeah, turns out you can just get these. You don't have to have a kid to get them, but they do have the entire particle zoo at particlezoo.com of all the particles. And then Lady Ada is doing some interesting projects. So we had a little video, so I thought I'd show that. But that's what we've been working on. That was our new product. And thank you again, everyone who's been taking care of Adafruit while we took a little time off. But here's a fun project that we thought would be a fun hack for new parents. All right, Lady Ada, what's this?
Hey, I just want to show a tip that might be helpful for other people who are using LV pumps. I really like these portable pumps, but they use a micro USB port to charge, and you have to charge them, at least once or twice a day. Sometimes even more, depending on how often you pump and how long. And this is really hard to insert a micro USB cable at 4 in the morning when you're really tired. So in the shop we have these magnetic tip cables. And, there's the tip that's the micro USB tip. So what you can do is you insert this in here and it makes a nice seal. And then I can plug this into USB. And then when it's time to charge, I just flip it on like that. And it immediately starts charging. And I don't have to worry about trying to line up the micro USB with the port at, again, 4 in the morning. Kind of tough. But this is much more convenient. Bam.
Anyways, so that's what we've been up to and more. So you'll see lots of content that has something to do with raising a kiddo in this modern world, and probably some neat electronics hacks and more. And we managed to do a ton of hardware, so we have hundreds of new designs because we have 20-minute increments to work on stuff, and Lady Ada has been on a tear. We have live shows.
We do.
Turns out.
We just did one.
Turns out we can still do live shows.
She's a couple so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe likes to sleep while we do live shows.
Kick it off.
We just did the show and tell, thanks to the team who've been co-hosting and more. Very much appreciated. One of the projects that was just on the show and tell that I thought was really neat was this really cool electronic fidget device.
Yes, with motors.
Yeah.
And it's in CircuitPython and it just got added. So.
Yeah, so go to circuitpython.org and check it out. We'll put it in the newsletter and more. All the projects are our favorite, but this one was particularly good. Nice work, Micah. So next up, Lady Ada, you do a Sunday show called Desk of Lady Ada.
Yes, we did. And here's the really good news. We've always done Desk of Lady Ada at Lady Ada o'clock, which, can vary from, 5 p.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. And that's really convenient because depending on how our Sunday is going with Baby Ada, we do our best to do it earlier, but sometimes do a little bit later.
So you did Desk of Lady Ada in 2 parts. What was part 1 this week? Okay,
part 1, I showed off some designs that I'm going to get into the shop. So first is the Feather ESP 32 S2 and S3 with reverse mounted TFT. So you have the version with the TFT on the top. This version has a TFT on the bottom and a couple GPIO buttons, so it's a little more panel mountable and maybe good for projects where you don't want, you want to have the TFT without any the USB in the way, and like stuff can stick out the back. So this is the S2 model, and then I'll also make a version with the S3. I like both ESPs, and then I might also do a version with the classic ESP 32 Pico or Mini. I really like the classic ESP 32 as well. And then I also showed off some cowbells. And
then we had the Great Search, where we use the DigiKey site to find stuff.
I'm designing more cowbells. So the Ada Logger cowbell, which I showed in the beginning there, I have on it a little tactile switch, and I realized that we use these little mini. I call them like 3x5 or whatever, 2.8 by 5.5, 4.5 tactile switches. And first off, I wanted to show how you could get those tactile switches on DigiKey because I use them on like every single project. And I also wanted to find a version with a larger oval actuator. I thought it would be like a kind of a nice look. Ironically, the INMPI also has one of these oval tactile switches. And the good news is it's the same footprint, and it just has a nice larger thing to press, and it's available in white or black or blue. Somebody asked for, does it come in other colors? And the answer is yes. You can also get them in a blue tinted shade. So kicking back with the Great Search, and if folks have parts that they want me to source for them, post them in the chat here.
Yeah,
and
you can also tag us on social media, or you can even email me, pt@adafruit, and we'll try to find it on.
Yes,
YouTube.
we do take user requests. I do my own stuff, but once in a while people are like, hey, I'm trying to find a replacement part or a pair part, or this one out of stock, or it's end of line, or it got discontinued. Those are my favorites to send those over.
All right, and every single week we do JP's product pick of the week. This is a live broadcast from inside a product page where the discount is automatically applied. JP, this highlight is coming right up.
It is the 5-port Stemma QT hub. It is a passive hub. It allows you to create a bunch of I2C devices plugged into a single microcontroller board without needing to run from sensor to sensor to sensor and create a humongous chain of them, which is pretty darn cool. So here you can see I've taken the hub, and then I have these 4 sensors plugged into it, and then the 5th item plugged into the hub is my QT Py right there. So here I've got an accelerometer, a pressure sensor, a temperature and humidity sensor, and a magnetometer. So I can read the values on all of those over a single I2C bus. They all have their own unique addresses. But as far as the actual wiring of the thing, it's really nice and neat with that little hub right in the middle there. So I'm just using some nylon standoffs and screws and nuts there to hook that all together. It is the Stemma QT and Quick 5-port hub.
Okay, time travel, looking around in the world, what's happening in the past, what's happening in the future, what can happen, what are some news items, all sorts of things. So first,
space and time.
Yeah, so first up, we've been a fan of updating currency for a while. We even did our own project where we had a Harriet Tubman stamp and we put it on $20 bills. Some people loved it, a couple people didn't. You can check out, we have a learn guide on how to make your own stamps for money. Turns out, you can stamp currency.
Sometimes.
It's legal. It all depends on the reason.
Yes.
But a lot of the things that we were waiting for was the currency updates in the U.S., and it's happened. And since we put a quarter in our product photos,
For
some
scale.
folks have noticed, here is some of the latest quarters that the U.S. Mint's doing. And you can see these. Yeah, you can see these in our product pages. And as we get more of them, including some of the ones tonight.
And here's the good news. I happen to be revising so many of our board designs with Penguin, which is Phil B's script to make beautiful silk screens really easy. And so we have to reshoot the boards anyway, so it's perfect timing because we're reshooting them with these awesome quarter shots.
Yeah, and so if you want, you can search, you can search online for the, I don't think I put the right image in for this, but there's the US Mint webpage, and you can see what quarters are coming out. If you want to support women-owned companies, we just got our certificates updated. Doesn't really do anything for us other than we just want to show that it's possible to be a woman-owned company. You can check these out on adafruit.com/about. And we're now just renewed across the board. They just make sure, is there a woman who really owns this company? Are you a minority-owned business?
And they interview me like on a video, and they're like, prove it.
Yeah. So we're official, and you can support us. And we're really pleased to see women on quarters, first time, at least for
Unless
many
it's
of
the
the
Sacagawea,
quarters.
but this
Yeah.
that is the dollar.
Yeah, this is for the very circulated coin.
Yeah.
Okay, some other news that we got going on. Adafruit's on Mastodon.
Toot,
so
toot.
we've had an account since 2017. Lots of folks are joining the Fediverse. It's a way to keep all your contacts and followers and not have one single place, basically Twitter, where your social media stuff is. We're in all the places. You can check out our footer on the bottom of the page if you want to look at it. I have a little video that I quickly made. Like, here's where you scroll down, you can click it, and then you can see where our page is. And what we've done is we made it clear, here's who's authoring. Might not be a great idea for brands and companies to do social media, but if they do, they should say who's behind it, who's writing it. So we put that on ours. The other thing that we did, and we thought that was pretty important, is we are a Patreon, I think, silver sponsor for Mastodon. So we give them money to make sure that they can keep this a cool, great place. Maybe they can keep it a nonprofit. Maybe they can keep it so it just doesn't turn into what Twitter turned into. Because there's a lot of great connections that people made, but sometimes things get a little out of hand. So anyways, we're there. Hell wanted. Could you go to the jobs board on your computer?
I can, but I have to sneeze first.
You gotta sneeze?
Okay, I'm done sneezing.
go to jobs.adafruit.com. So we have a jobs board.
One second. Okay. Jobs.adafruit.
And if you're in the New York area, and I have to say New York area specifically, you can go to jobs.adafruit.com, and we have we're growing, expanding, and we just updated our payroll systems, and we need someone who is really interested in how do you do the best type of bookkeeping and administration, and we have great benefits and paid time off, and we're looking for another person to join the team. So check it out. You can go to jobs.adafruit.com if you're in the New York area. Please consider applying. We might do some remote stuff, but we're starting out, obviously training and stuff like that. And we're high touch, as they say. So we like to meet with you and meet people. Python on hardware time. Okay.
So much has happened.
Python on hardware time. We do a yearly post, and this year I'm going to do the same thing I did last year. Is Lady Ada, after you've read the post that's on Adafruit's blog and on the socials and probably other places, what do you want to see in CircuitPython 2023? What do you want to see in CircuitPython 2023?
Are you asking me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. So a lot of stuff's going to happen. First off, we're going to finish releasing 8.00 because we've done so much stuff with Wi-Fi, adding PicoW support, which is really great. And PicoW is also going to be adding Bluetooth support soon. So we're going to do some Bluetooth work. We'd like to add BLE for ESP32 series chips and the PicoW. We're going to see how they're doing it, and so maybe we can have some of that work overlap. The chip shortage is not completely over, but it's way less unover than it was before, if that makes sense. So one of the things I want to revisit is the IMX chipset. We were about to release a bunch of boards with it, and then could not get those chips at all. Now they're all available again. So it's a Cortex M7. It's a really nice chip, and it's not too expensive. It's used, that family of chips is used in the Teensy for those who are familiar with it. I also have some fun project hacks I want to do. We're going to add some camera support, maybe some more graphics support. I think those are the core things. So basically BLE, IMX chipset, USB host, which we added to the RP2040 in Arduino. We're going to try to port that over maybe to CircuitPython, have that be a fun hack. You need to give up a core and all the PIOs, but it's really neat to have USB host as a secondary interface on the RP2040. I think that could make for some very cool projects.
Okay. For mine is more project-based, but it's, would it be possible to start first you make the most simplest thing with CircuitPython.
Yeah.
And then you build up to, I want to have we have the ruler project.
Yeah.
It says PCB ruler. And then the next thing maybe you would make is a calculator.
Yeah.
Maybe you would make a computer mouse. Maybe you make a keyboard. And then maybe you would make your full computer running Python.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that would go into that, a pure Python computer. But I like the idea of getting all the way there without having to really know how to code. But then as you learn more, it's like an onion. There's multiple layers to it. So someone can just get started with electronics and programming and cobble together their own device. I want to make my own mouse and keyboard, and then after they can just continue building that. And as they do that, they eventually work their way up to now I have a full computer that I just built.
It'd be cool if you build a computer built with RP2040 chips, but every peripheral and device, your display is RP2040, and your main processor is RP2040, and the mouse and the keyboard, the whole thing, everything is that. Cool. That'd be funny.
Okay, open source hardware news. Happy birthday, SparkFun. SparkFun is celebrating their 20th anniversary.
Wow.
They have a sale going on. And us.
Check them out. Support them.
Us. We link to everyone. We send everyone to everyone's website that we don't consider folks competitors. Everyone's doing open source hardware. We had Nate and Alicia on Ask an Engineer. I looked up because I'm when was the last time they were on the show? About 10 years ago. This is when we were...
Riker Phil.
Yeah, this is Riker Phil. There was a transporter accident. But then I was thinking... I wonder what open source hardware that SparkFun and Adafruit have been doing together. What percentage are we together?
Yeah, we're doing a lot.
So altogether for open source hardware projects, there's 1,951
total.
Yes.
And then, yeah, completely, yeah.
Yeah. And if you look, SparkFun has 405.
Yeah.
Adafruit has 540. When you do the math, these two companies together are about half of all of open source hardware.
But here's what I like. It's not over half, which means the majority of open source hardware is not from us. There's other people doing it, which is good because it would be it would be the worst thing if we were like 95%. But I'm really glad that it isn't just us. It's a community of people working together. We're all doing the OSHWA certification online, and it's just working out.
So check it out. Happy anniversary. Adafruit isn't 20 years old. We'll be there eventually and probably sooner than we think. But it's cool to see another open source hardware company doing it and also publishing their files and certifying their hardware and keeping the values going. There's not a lot of us out there. There's only a few left. So thank you. Support all the open source hardware
and
companies.
Especially this year because a lot of companies really, really struggled and struffled over the last 2 years. We saw many companies.
This has been tough.
Either they've closed or they've really had to downsize quite a bit because if you can't ship hardware for 2 years, your cash flow takes a big hit. And it was challenging for Adafruit. I'm sure it was challenging for SparkFun as well. Like I said, I sort of see a glimmer of hope. Parts that have been out of stock and unavailable for 2 years are suddenly becoming available again, or our in-stock numbers are the highest they've been in about a year. But it was a struggle. It was a slog. We definitely went through what was it from The Princess Bride, like the forest of tears or something? And
it's been really tough on everyone. So support open source hardware companies. SparkFun's one of them. Adafruit's one of them. The numbers are there. This is two companies that are trying to do their best, sharing and helping to get the next generation of engineers out there.
Whew.
All right, let's do some advanced manufacturing. That's how fast we've been moving since we got chips back.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
All right, next up, 3D printing. So this week, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to play the recap because there's a 2022 recap, Noah and Pedro, and then we're going to do 2 speed ups, and then we're going to bounce right into INMPI. So take it away, Noah and Pedro. before we go to INPI, the code is kick it off. 10% off the Adafruit store before 11:59 p.m. Maybe, or until I remember to turn it off. All right, here we go. All right, Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Lady Ada, what is the latest and greatest product this week?
Glad you asked. This week's Ion NPI is from BridgeTech, shown here. BridgeTech is a maker of chips that allow you to interface with HDMI or TTL displays. And we're actually going to talk about basically two NPIs. Because one of them is a little bit out of stock, but one of them is. It's the BT817 and the IDM 2040. So first up, the IDM 2040, which is like the original Ion NPI that we want to talk about. It's a 7-inch diagonal capacitive touch display. You can see on the left is the front of the display. On the back of the display is a board, development board, the IDM 2040 from -7 for 7-inch. From BridgeTech, which features their chip, the BT817. So, what is this dev board? Well, as you can see here, it's got a whole bunch of features, basically due to the fact that it's got 3 chips in one here. You get a really good deal. You get a Raspberry Pi RP2040, you get the BT817, which is the video driver connected to the RP2040, and you also get an FT2232, which is like a debugging interface if you want to do more intense programming and debugging of the RP2040 and the BT817. The display itself is 800 by 480. It's got a capacitive touch display, and the board on the back, which can be actually used with almost any TTL display. Can do gesture, can do audio, can do video, all this graphic acceleration, all controlled over SPI. So if you're interested in talking to TTL type displays, this chip is for you. So what's a TTL type display? Well, these are displays that, we stock a lot of displays that are like 1 inch or 3 inch or 2.4, 2.8, and they use SPI 4-wire interfaces to communicate. You can send, you set the window and you can draw graphics to them. But if you want to do stuff like widgets or interfacing or video or graphics, you have to use a subsystem like LVGL, and also you can't use larger displays like 800 by 480 or even larger displays 1024 by 600 or 1024 by 800 displays. Those require 24 GPIO pins on the right, 8 red, 8 green, 8 blue, plus clock, H-Sync and V-Sync. It's just kind of an older style display, and you need to have a processor that can handle that, and a lot of processors can't. Like usually you have to go with an STM7 series or some IMX high-end processors, have enough GPIO. You have to have 35 GPIO, and you have to have the ability to have a frame buffer that is bulleted to the display. Very hard to find in a smaller microcontroller, pretty much impossible. Again, usually you need to spend $10-20 to do that, and then maybe you'd have to learn that chip as well because it's tightly coupled to that microcontroller. So what you can do is instead have a coprocessor, and if you're familiar with the Gameduino from X Camera Labs, that uses the BT815, which is a slightly earlier version of this chip that can control TTL displays. And then there's this version that has HDMI output. It takes a TTL and then converts it to HDMI, which is, again, something that microcontrollers tend not to have interfaces for. HDMI is a really advanced interface. Usually you need to have like a Linux computer to have a DVI or HDMI encoder. So this chip is a kind of a graphics coprocessor that does a lot of the heavy lifting that would be required for you to use these large displays, to use HDMI displays. So there's a family of different chips in the BridgeTech collection. So we're talking about the 817 today, but you can see from this table different amounts of flash and memory and capabilities and resolutions. But the 817 is kind of the latest and greatest, and can do pretty big displays up to 1 megapixel, and has a lot of built-in capabilities to decode WAV files and such. Next up, can you enlarge it for me so I can see the?
Yeah.
Just 1 second, programming note. Oh, wonderful. So this is the block diagram for the 817818. So on the right-hand side is the TTL and touch control interface. So it can do resistive touch, so older displays do resistive, or it can do capacitive touch. There's only a couple different capacitive touch chip families, and so you can program it to interface with them. But the important part is that top right area where you see H-Sync, V-Sync, and the 24 RGB pins. That's the output. And then on the left-hand side is how you communicate with it. So when you so it has flash interface. That's for memory storage or like internal program control. Like it has its own firmware. But the way you talk to it is through SPI, which is great because like almost every microcontroller can communicate with SPI. And using their SDK, you send commands and you can like create widgets or tell it like play this audio file or display this animation or like rotate this 3D shape. And the commands are all done over SPI. So it's I like that it's not UART. Inside is the Eve engine. So Eve is embedded video engine, and that's what actually does the human interface design. So, again, if you're making a lot of something, you might eventually want to go with a small embedded Linux computer. But if you're just making a couple hundred of something, you need to have an interface. You want to use a large display. You can use whatever processor you know and love, even something as simple as an 8-bit Arduino or an STM. RP2040 is a popular one. And I think especially now that people as engineers have lived through, what if I can't get that chip? You want to use the STM32H7 because it has a TTL display, but you can't get that chip. It's completely unavailable. Or there's people selling it for like $73 a piece. What do you do? Instead, you could use a more common available processor and then offload all the graphics and audio stuff to the Eve 8XX, whichever one best suits you. So this is a dev board for this is basically a dev kit to show off this chip. So you can see in the center there is the 40-pin TTL display connector, and then underneath that is the Eve micro SD slot. What's interesting is they have an RG45 in the top right corner for DMX control. There's a DC-DC converter, so you can power it however you want. There's a speaker output on the bottom right. What I thought was kind of neat is, first off, the USB-Cs are vertical mount. I'll show that on the overhead later. And there's also STEMMA QT ports, and those are connected to the RP2040, which is in the middle left, kind of to the left of the 40-pin connector. There's also some GPIO available. So if you can run code on the RP2040 that controls the graphic display. I'll show that in a moment, and also connects with external hardware. And you can use the huge library of existing Arduino or CircuitPython libraries to interface with the hardware and sensors. So this is just a gigantic list of all the things that it's got. It's got the FT 232. It's got connectors, ADCs, SPI, SWD. Lots of USB-Cs, et cetera, to make it very easy for you to run all their examples and develop your interface, which then, once you're done, you can take that Eve control code and port it to whatever microcontroller you want using their SDK. Thanks to the work of James Bowman, who did the the Gameduino Dazzler, we have in CircuitPython the Eve bindings, which means that if you want to, one of the cool things when I grabbed this board is the default demo that you load onto it is CircuitPython, and you load Python code, and so you can actually go in and edit and hack the code and basically kickstart your interface design all using Python. So definitely one of the things I've noticed when you're working on graphics interface projects, the code can get really big, and so like you're constantly reloading this massive amount of firmware, whereas with Python, that quick dynamic loading, only execute when you need to, means you don't have to re-upload the firmware every time when you make small tweaks, like I want to move the button or I want to change the font. There's also their own tool sets. This is like a firmware loader, which I use to, you can load files and assets onto the flash memory. This is the example code. So they do have some example code for MicroPython, Pico SDK, and of course CircuitPython as well. A lot of people. There's also Eve code. If you look on GitHub, there's Eve binding code for Arduino because, as you saw, GameDuino has example code and other platforms as well.
Available on DigiKey.
That's right. So we did buy the last dev kit. There were a bunch, and there was one left, and I grabbed it. So they're out of stock on the dev kit. However, the chip, the BT817, they have a ton in stock. So the schematics for this dev board are available in their data sheet. They have the schematics for how to use it. So you can still use all their code, but I'll show on the overhead. So this is the
this is a cool demo.
IDM 2040. So hold on, I want to unplug it. So on the back, USB-Cs. So there's 3 USB-Cs, one for the FT232, one for, I think, the Eve directly, and then one for the RP2040. So I'm connected to the RP2040. This is the display, and I'm just powering the whole thing off of here. And then this is actually CircuitPython code. So what's neat is, pretty advanced projects like, rotating a 3D shape, having button. I don't have a speaker connected to the audio because I didn't know what it was going to play. But, if you widgets like having a little scroll wheel, that's all built in. So you don't have to hand draw the thing as it rotates. You can have various fonts. You can have, interface things in different text and colors, graphics in the background. Another thing it can do is the graphics engine can do rotation and overlay and alpha blending and stuff, so you can see this is one graphic that's rotated, tiled, and moved around. This is from James Bowman's demo that he wrote for the original Eve bindings. The video playback, I didn't load a video. And then image viewer. This is actually neat. I don't have the hardware, but it turns out that this actually has the example code uses an APDS, and you can put your hand over it to
cool.
Swipe it forward and back. And then I realized I do not have an APDS 9960 with me, but you can see you can display graphics that are either loaded over SPI, or you can, of course, load them on the flash or SD card on the back. So, it's powerful. And this dev board is a great demo. You could use this dev board as is, but I think what's really nice is that just take the schematic, remove what you don't want, keep the RP2040 because it's a very cheap processor, and the BT817. You don't need the speaker driver, remove it. You don't need the DMX, remove it, and then use that to base your next design on.
All right, and that's this week's Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
All right, Lady Ada, before we go over to new products, code is kick it off. 10% off an Adafruit store. Lady Ada, it is time.
Yes.
We are back. It feels good to be back in the new product biz.
New.
All right, first up, we got some revisions.
Okay, it's been a revision party. So a lot of our TFT displays have been revised. As we ran out of previous versions, I decided to respin them. So this is like an old classic, the 1.8-inch TFT.
Sounds respin by the quarter, and super nice fonts.
Super nice fonts, thanks to Penguin. Sometimes we have done slight tweaks, like for example, I think on this design I added some pull-up resistors on the reset CS pin lines. I turned some 0805 components to 0603 and some SOICs turned into T-stops. But the most important thing is on the bottom is that iSpy connector. And that's, a lot of people like that we've redone all of our sensors with STEMMA QT port to make plug-and-play I2C. But what about SPI? I mean, especially wiring displays, often the display is not right next to the dev board. You want it panel mounted, and then you have all these wires hanging off of it. Well, the iSpy connector is designed to make that easy. It's a standardized flex connector with SPI and power and backlight and, touch interface control and IRQ, all the pins that you expect that you would want for a display, or e-ink or OLED or whatever, all on a flex cable to make it very easy for you to be able to have the display far away. We have 200 millimeter cables. They work fine. I mean, you're going to have to experiment with speed versus cable distance. But it solves a problem of like I want to have a display and I don't want to have long, 1-inch stranded cables and they just come loose. So the 1.8-inch display, it's otherwise the same shape, size, code, everything. We've just added this connector, so that should make it much easier for people to interface with.
Next rev.
Other rev is the 1.3-inch TFT display. This also got updated. Also, if you notice the little graphics on there, that's Phil B's new graphics demo that he wrote for GFX. A nice little test demo that does, all the shapes and fonts and stuff. So this is the 1.3-inch display. We did the 1.5-inch a couple weeks ago. This is also the TFT display, and then finally is the OLED display, which is this one. Sorry, they all look very similar. No, this is the 1.3, 1.3. Next one. Keep going. OLED. So the 1.5-inch 128 by 120 RGB OLED also got the iSpy treatment. It now has a easy connector that you can plug into. Obviously, it doesn't have a backlight, but all the other pins do stuff, and you can easily wire it up, especially for people who want to make little eyes. People like to use the OLED for mask projects. Remember, they would use the Phil B Monster Mask eye code, and so now you can wire them up a lot easier without. You can use breadboarding, but you can use a cable instead for distance OLED, and then it's got the old demo, and this is a nice fancy demo.
Oh, look at this.
Ooh. Graphics, text, buffering.
Buttery smooth.
Buttery smooth graphics. So that's the updated OLED. So it's the same size, shape, everything. A couple small little tweaks. It's now black instead of blue, but I wanted to show the original as well in case people were like, hey, what's the original graphics?
Alrighty, next up.
Next up, I love joysticks. This is a dual potentiometer joystick, and it has a button in the center. This is not the joystick in a Nintendo Switch, but it's basically this, looks and feels the same, it's the same size. But instead of using a magnetic encoder, which is really hard to interface with, and I don't think it's open sourced or whatever, this one just has simple 2mm pitch connector. So it's much, much easier to use in a project. It's not breadboard friendly, but you could make a custom PCB, or you could kind of bend the pins back and forth and maybe sort of make it kind of fit in a board. And here you can see it's got dual pots. Dual pots are not going to last as long as a magnetic connector, magnetic sensor, which is why it's not used in the Nintendo Switch. But if you like the feeling of that joystick, that kind of flicky, center button pressy joystick, this is an inexpensive way to add that kind of connector to your project or interface.
Okay, next up. We got Reels and Chips.
It's time for the real world. This is the RP2040 edition. So we've got lots of RP2040s. During the chip shortage, this was always available. And people have asked us, hey, we want to get chips from you, and you sell them in sets of 1 and 10, but we need more than that. And I was like, oh yeah.
We want this many.
Well, we do have reels, and they're a good deal because we have a couple extra reels. You can get the chips for like 74 cents a piece. If you buy a reel of 3,400, or 75 cents a piece if you get them in packs of 100. If you get them in packs of 100, they come in a cut tape strip. If you get a reel, it comes in a reel. This is a cut tape strip, which will, you'll have to load it into your pick and place, so you can peel the strip off, but they're protected in a covered tape piece. So both versions. We also, of course, have them in singles and in packs of 10, but if you're making a lot of boards, which we are, you might want to get them in packs of 100 or 3,400. So many.
Next up from Scout Mix, we have a TDA chip FM transmitter. So this is, is it a transmitter or receiver? This is a receiver, I think. It's FM radio. So this is, you can listen to FM stations, and after you solder in a piece of wire as an antenna, you plug in your headphones, and it got digital I2C control, so you can scan for stations. You can scan to the next station that has good FM signal. You can have volume up and down. It's kind of like a very low cost, simple FM chip.
but it's on a STEMMA QT port connector here for easy use. And Scout even wrote a CircuitPython library to use it with. So if you want to kind of make your own little digital radio FM receiver, especially one that's all ready to go, plug and play, no soldering required, the TVA is a pretty popular one, and it works well.
You can make your own radio with CircuitPython. So cool.
Yes.
You can do it.
Listen to free music.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay Spotify. There's music all around you.
All right. So the stars of the show, we have two things, and I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Lady Ada?
Yeah. Go for it. I think those are the RP2040s.
This is RP2040 stuff.
One more.
Yeah, these are the RP2040 things, but start of the show besides you, Lady Ada, is...
Okay, we've got two, and the first one is the IoT BFF. So this is, I've been creating a lot of little add-on boards for STEMMA QT so QT Py or SHAO boards. You've got the ESP32 and S2, S3, and C3, and SAMD21, RP2040. And then from Seed, they've got the SHAO with NRF and SAMD and some other chips. And they're adorable little boards, and one of the things we thought would be fun is to make little IoT button projects. Like, you just press a button and something happens on, some IoT surface or whatever. It's a very simple interface. You just press a button, and we wanted a nice big button. So this IoT BFF, it's very simple. It's a very low-cost board. All it does is give you a really big button and a NeoPixel, because, you want it to flip over so you couldn't see the NeoPixel on the other side. And when you press the button, it just shorts 8-pin A2 low, and then the NeoPixel is on the GPIOs. So I can just show really quickly a little demo. Let's see if I can get this demo running. Live demo.
Yeah. Somebody feel me goes over it, or we have nice pictures.
We do have nice pictures, but I don't know why this is not longer working.
Well, I've been unplugging and plugging things around.
I think we may have unplugged.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Probably unplugged something.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll show a demo later. We'll do a separate video.
And once again, Star Show, besides you, Lady Ada, our team, our customers, our community, everybody who helps Adafruit go is...
All right, next up is the SHT45. This was by customer request. We've stocked the SHT40 for a bit, which is a fairly good quality, like 1.8 or 2% relative humidity precise sensor. This is the SHT45, which is the same code interface as the SHT40. So if you've got firmware or driver for the SHT40, the 45 is the same, but it's much higher quality. So these are the ones that passed like the much better sensor test. They are 1% humidity and 1.1 degrees centigrade accurate humidity and temperature sensors. They're very simple. They only have I2C interface, but we've got Arduino and CircuitPython code. You can't change the I2C interface address, or only OX44. That's the only thing that comes in. If you need to connect multiple of these, you could use our I2C multiplexer. We have the PCA 9548 and PCA 9546 is in the store, so you could plug and play those if you need to have a bunch of them. But they're a little more expensive because they're higher quality. But if you really want, this is really one of the most accurate and precise temperature and humidity sensors that we've got, and our PCB has a nice little cutout, so there's a little bit of thermal isolation. They're a really wonderful sensor, and we do have whippersnapper support as well for the SHT4X series. So again, plug and play, no code required to make an IoT project with this sensor, or use your existing Arduino or CircuitPython code to add this very lovely sensor to your temperature and humidity monitoring or logging.
Mr. Bark.
New.
Okay, go and post your questions over on Discord. That's where you answer questions. We'll try to get to them, and let's do some top secret, Lady Ada.
Yeah.
We got two things. Well, actually, no, more than two things. So for top secret, let's talk about what we're going to show. Okay. So first up, we have a video of the ESP2 Feather with TFT. Then we have a design, and you can talk about that. And then you're going to show some stuff on the overhead.
Yeah, I can show some.
You ready to go?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Lady Ada, what is this?
Hey, Happy New Year. We're just wrapping up a couple last projects before the new year gets rung in. This is an ESP32 S2 or later on probably S3 feather. It's got all the stuff you expect from a feather, battery, USB-C, STEMMA QT port with a separate LDO. For battery monitoring, I'm using the MAX 17048. There's an optional BME 280, NeoPixel, and then, like I said, the S2 with PS RAM. And then this is a reversed mount TFT feather. So it's got that 240 by 135 color TFT. And then I've got a couple buttons with the GPIO that, oops, hold on. I've got a couple buttons on the GPIO that are not used, and a reset button, and it seems to be working.
All right. Next up, what's this, Lady Ada?
Designing more BFFs, and I was working this on the other project, this Ada Logger, which I'll show in a moment, and realized that the micro SD card holder was slim enough that it could fit on the back of the Xiao or Cutie Pie, and so I designed this little BFF that's just uses the SPI pins, and you can configure the SD pin as well, the SD chip select, so you get a lot of storage. That could be really fun too for like big data logging projects, or maybe like audio playback or something on a Cutie Pie.
All right, and then you have your demo that you wanted to show.
Well, first
and then we'll do the top secret.
I changed the USB port now. This is working. So this is.
I was plugging and unplugging so many things. I think maybe I bumped something earlier today.
Oh no! Yeah, this is now it's not working.
Yeah.
Hold on.
There's so many cables.
This is.
You know that scene in Indiana Jones where he's like, "I don't like snakes," and like snakes are all over him. It's like that with cables here.
So so here you go. It's also it's not soldered in. It's going to press fit. But this is the button, and then when I press the button, that's what my demo code does. We shoot this demo maybe this weekend. I'll show it off, and we can add to the product page. But just like I thought we could come up with a project that's like, okay, it's like press the button and something happens, and then the LED tells you it's green when the thing occurred. So the other thing I got is I'm designing more cowbells. This is the next design. This is the Ada Logger cowbell, which has micro SD slot, RTC, a battery backup for the RTC, and a 7QT port. So you could fit this underneath your Pico or Pico W. If you use stacking headers, which this does. Let me remove it. Also, not soldered in. You have stacking headers. You can have this on a board, and then you could still connect to GPIO on your board, and then plug your Pico or Pico W on top to get data logging, and then you can remove your SD card or insert it pretty easily. And that's that ultra slim micro SD card that would fit between the two headers. Okay, that's what I got.
And that is this week's top secret, Lady Ada.
Super secret.
Super secret. It's top secret. Okay, well, we're going to go right into questions.
Okay, got a couple minutes.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes, and I'm going to do the ones that were queued up. I'll answer your questions.
I'm going to do it.
All right, so first up, question. I want to control a small 5-volt, 2-amp PWM fan from a pin on a Metro M0 board. I know the output can't provide that full power, but if I use something like a new Adafruit MOSFET driver, is a PWM signal still passed through to the fan, or is the signal smooth or lost?
It's not smooth, so your PWM will work just fine.
Okay.
It's a great way to drive a little fan. That's what it's designed for.
ESP32 variants are one of the most popular boards available. Not all of them have DACs, and I2S seems like the better way to go. I could also see a use for SD card or SPI chip for storage or audio clips? Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the question is, but I agree.
Yeah. So maybe you're working on more boards.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We had a feather wing if you want to add like all that stuff.
Yeah. What do some I2C devices have single addresses, but some have 4 or 5?
Whatever the designer decided, you got to bring it up with them.
Talk to the maker.
Sometimes you get a hamburger, and sometimes they're like, you can have cheese on it, or like lettuce and tomato, and sometimes they're like, no, you just get a burger and a bun.
There was one place they're like, we just won't put ketchup on burgers.
They won't put lettuce and you remember that place that was like, we don't do lettuce, tomato, and onion? I'm like, well,
yeah,
the
burgers were good.
Cheese.
The burger was good, but it was like, but they don't, anyways.
Minimal. Yeah.
Does the FM board do RDS? And the answer is yes. So you answered their own question. RDA 5807
sorry, it does do
has
RDS.
capability.
I will say that I was not that successful that one time I tried to use RDS. It was not awesome. But it does have RDS support.
Okay. Adafruit, instead of the Pi Pico feather wings, have you considered a double or triple or type board that has one slot for the Pico and 1-2 feather wing compatible? One for the other two?
We have, but the thing we have to figure out is like which direction, because with the Pico add-ons, sometimes they go from the bottom. So we'll get to all of these things.
All right. And then nice comment from someone. No question, but wishing the new parents and baby Ada a happy, healthy 2023. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So many nice people.
Yeah.
What is RDS?
It's the text that comes over that tells you what's playing on the radio.
Yeah. So I2C address offering is all in the maker, so maybe space constraints is their comment. What capacity of the micro SD card do they support?
Most SD card interfaces for microcontrollers could support up to, I think, 64 gig cards.
Okay. Does Scout Radio do emergency weather bands? Not sure if that's AM or FM.
Just FM.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
FM only.
All right. Going to the other chats and making sure. Someone discount code. Discount code's kicking off.
Oh, well,
that's
yes.
how you could support us.
10% off.
A certified women-owned business. That's us. There's not that many. In fact, I think we're like the only electronic one, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at least one of the few. But yeah, use the code, and you get all this free stuff. And then don't forget the nudes come with us now.
Free nudes with every order.
Yeah. So you get that. All right. Let's just see if there's anything else. I think we're wrapping up. Do you have any tips or secret techniques for designing a PCB board? Ooh.
You just gotta, be okay with revising. I have a lot of my boards have been revised 3, 4, or 5 times. Nope, not uncommon. So just do a revision. It's better to get it right than to.
Oh, here's an interesting idea. Is there a chance that you can add a button on the website that would say "Buy it now"? So you might have stuff in your cart, but you want to buy that thing right now. That's an interesting idea because that's a fun logistic-y problem with how you would separate that from the cart. But that's a neat idea. If you're watching JP's product page, there could be a special thing like, "All I want is this.
Yeah.
Ignore my cart." That's an interesting idea.
We don't have this. I know what you mean. We don't have this separate cart save for later. I mean, we do have save for later. You can save it to your wish list. So maybe you want to just have your wish list, have all your stuff, not your cart.
Could do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that is it.
Okay.
All right, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so
Thanks,
much, everybody. I once again wanted to say thank you to everyone for supporting us and all the things that we've been trying to do over the last decade or so, and all your support and orders, all of our team and everything. And it helped us bring a new little youngling into the world. I'm looking forward to what she's going to do one day. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we have to go and take care of baby right now.
That's
so
right.
We'll see everybody.
It's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back on
remarkably quiet sometimes.
with the comment.
If you plan things out, they sleep and they eat, and you can have like chunks of time. We're really lucky she sleeps like 8 hours at a time. It's really nice. So anyways, we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much. We're going to continue to do the shows. We'll probably continue to rearrange things around here. If you saw what was going on behind the scenes thing, here, the scene from someone mentioned the movie Brazil kind of looks like that behind here.
Okay.
With lots of cables and more. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to bounce right to this has been an Adafruit production. No moment of Zener tonight. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.